Alright there. I'm in Sweden. Thought we'd have a bit of a different episode for you on real English with real teachers. Let's go. Welcome to Gothenburg, Sweden. So I flew over to see a good friend of mine who is a non-native English speaker. And while I was visiting this rather beautiful hometown of his, I thought it might help English learners to hear his journey to fluency. I've also gone ahead and corrected his occasional mistakes for you to learn from, along with some hints and tips of how to be a better learner. So, let's meet the man himself. Name, Matthias, English level C1, nationality, Swedish, age 27. You went to school in Sweden, in Gothenburg,
Yeah,
or Gothenburg.
Gothenburg, yeah.
You stayed in your hometown until what age?
I stayed here until I finished high school and then I left to Norway for 7 months, I think it was.
Here many non-natives confuse I left to with I left for, or we could say I went to Norway. On top of that, we could also include I left to go to Norway, and that would be correct. Unfortunately, we can't use I left to a place. And how long have you been learning English? Like in Sweden, do they learn English throughout their whole childhood at a good standard?
I think we first had it when I was 7 maybe. That's probably the first interaction I had, like in school then.
If you're interested, the Swedish schooling system, according to Matthias, for English lessons was 3 times per week at 1.5 hour lessons per session. So before Puma, were you not actively trying to improve your English at all? It was just naturally coming into your life through media?
Yeah, when I was around maybe 15, 16, 17, or maybe even up to 20, 21. I played quite a lot of like Counter-Strike and a bit of World of Warcraft and that stuff.
So
that I also think it has a big impact actually, especially for the young people today, the kids.
Yeah.
They're playing a lot of video games. I think they are learning English way faster than people who are not playing.
So Matthias's tip is to get gaming, involve yourself in it. And if that's not your cup of tea, then find a way to interact with English in a way that allows you to forget that you are learning the language. Let it be a byproduct of the enjoyable activity itself, rather than the main focus point. He also went on to say how in Sweden the films are not dubbed, unlike many other nationalities, so while it was being subtitled, he was still exposed to regular listening practice with films and TV shows. You obviously came from Sweden to Puma in Germany, which is an English-speaking business though.
Yeah.
And did you find that nerve-wracking?
Yeah, I think my English was way more rusty when I first came.
Okay.
Like it's way better now I think than it was a year ago.
Okay.
But it was also like a mix of that I was just nervous coming there.
Again, Matthias has confused the verb coming with the verb going. You could either say coming here or going there. You can't say coming there. So, option, I was just nervous going there, or another option, I was just nervous at the idea of going there. If he was actually still in the place that we were talking about, Nuremberg, Germany, then he could say, I was just nervous coming here.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I had to speak here another language that I'm not speaking all the time. So
Okay.
those two aspects was probably the a combination of.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Was it on your mind to always improve your English after a certain age?
When I started at Puma, maybe I started to think about it a bit more, just because I felt that I sucked at it at first.
Right.
I was pretty bad when I came, and then but as I said, also it was a mix of that I was nervous. So, but when after just observing people and getting to know them a bit more, when I could start being myself more, then I really started to play more with the English also.
Okay.
And I didn't really care if I messed up or anything, you know. So.
Right. So once you grounded yourself in feeling comfortable in the environment, you were then able to just mess around and not make many mistakes. Not care about making mistakes. Yeah. Which I assume that probably pushed your level even further.
Yeah.
Because you don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, people told me still when like, what are you saying? And I was just, what do you mean? And then they had to explain, and then I was just, oh, okay.
The thing that strikes me most odd with Matthias is that he never consciously tried to learn English. While it could be the schooling systems, the integration of English within the country, the proximity of the UK to Sweden, or any other reasons combined, we can still come away from this with one very valid point. And this is actually similar to many self-development books regarding wealth and prosperity, in that focusing on not having enough of something in life, or even just focusing on that topic alone that we doubt ourselves in, allows it to become a real problem for us. And as we saw here, it didn't really cross his mind that his English might not be good enough to go to a foreign country and work in an English-speaking business. And what happened? He got the job. I'm perhaps oversimplifying it, but still there's a key point there. The quicker we get okay with not being perfect and making mistakes, the quicker we progress. So we need to throw ourselves in the deep end and just not worry about being too deep. So you're now of like an advanced level, I would say, and you feel comfortable with the people at your work and things like that. Do you have any problems now?
If I'm talking to 3 people that are all from the same country and speaking the same type of English, they're having like their type of slang. So it can be tough to follow that, and then also to like more be exactly who I am when I'm speaking Swedish. That's also a thing that I think a lot about, actually.
Right.
That I can't really. It's almost like I'm having a new personality almost.
Really? Here we use the present simple form because it's more of a general truth regarding his personality, whereas we would use the continuous when something is more temporary.
Like it's not, now it's better, but in the beginning it's very, you can only speak very formal with another one.
Matthias needs to use the adverb formally, and at the end, the word one, we would swap with person. Sounds unnatural to refer to a human as one in that context.
You don't really get into more of a deeper level, you know? Like it's just joking and just being yourself. I feel that's quite tough to achieve.
Finding yourself in English. Now this is really interesting to me, and personally I think it could help to focus on understanding the culture that you associate to the most within the language that you are learning. So perhaps we need to try to suit the social class or the academic level or the sporting interests or any other kind of interest that we associate to within the language that we're learning. Do you notice that you're starting to think in English? Are you starting to act and think and behave more in English, right?
I would say right now I'm thinking in English.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not translating in any way?
No. Just if there is a word I can't come up with. Contractions really do take you from that advanced level to the upper advanced tier. So when possible, use the contraction like a native would.
Yeah.
Then I would probably get into thinking in Swedish, like, okay, what's this? And then the computer is thinking, and then...
Do you feel like the computer is like almost 2 separate computers and you're switching? It's like English and then, I can't think of it, go over to Swedish.
Yeah, actually, because I mean our conversation is quite fluent, you know, it's going pretty quick, so I don't think I even have time to access the Swedish one and then think and then respond. It's more that Translating really does slow everything down, especially
at the advanced level. So really try to avoid it. Stay within the language that you are learning and try not to bring phrases and idioms over from your native tongue. So I've got a couple of stereotypes of the Swedish stereotype.
Yeah.
Are you an ABBA fan? You got to listen to it 24/7, right?
No. No, I don't really listen to ABBA.
Another stereotype is that Swedes apparently sound like the Muppets Swedish chef.
Hallo! Welcome to Fjorg's Bakery. Would you like a hot piece of pea? It's on the hoose.
Try to put a really Swedish accent on in English.
I mean, I guess you can talk like this if you... My childhood was pretty good. I grew up here, out in the countryside. I've actually heard people saying that Swedish is almost sounding like, you know, The Sims, the computer game.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, how they are talking.
Napa täällä varoravati, eri suu, eri sillä hauna vervati.
I see what you mean. But you've dropped that. What happened? Was that just natural exposure to more English people?
That may be one thing that I've been thinking about. But I don't want to have an accent at all. That's the thing. When I'm speaking English.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know. Because I think that sounds so stupid.
Right. When you say you don't want to have an accent, though, I think you could argue that everyone has an accent.
Yeah. I mean, I have some kind of accent when I'm speaking English, but I don't.
You don't want to have a foreign-sounding accent. Is that what you mean?
I just don't want to sound like that.
Hallo!
I mean, I probably do sometimes.
I don't think you do. While many people want to sound as native as possible, we should not focus too heavily on accent training and neglect more important areas such as using prepositions and articles correctly. If your accent is so thick that a native cannot understand you, then it's time to work on accent reduction. But if you are audible, I bet you if you ask a native speaker what was confusing or what made them question your English, it would be incorrect grammar or the physical incorrect sound, not the accent. I reckon this is probably because English is fast becoming a global language and with it many different accents. So the main focus should be audible pronunciation. Next, start to look into filler sounds and whether you overpronounce some syllables. But seriously, don't neglect the less interesting parts of the language that natives really do notice. I hope you enjoyed that little interview while I was away in Sweden. It was a fleeting visit, but we still managed to explore the city, walk around the old town, have some traditional Swedish meatballs with cranberry sauce, play some pool and shuffleboard, and we also stumbled upon a rather unique graduation ceremony. The ritual is to jump into the plaza fountain and spray champagne all over the place. How bizarre. I'd like to thank the man himself, Matthias, for the interview and hope you found the sentence reviews along with the language tips interesting. Click here to subscribe and be notified of when we are next live. If you want to live, eat and breathe real English, then come and stay with us on our Immersion course. And lastly, if you want more classes from us every week, then come over to Patreon to join our loyal members. P.S. Give us a cheeky thumbs up. Go on, you know you want to.